Mandalorian and Grogu just came out, the first Star Wars film in 7 years and the 13th Star Wars movie overall. I rewatched every single one of them in January this year because it had been so long since I've seen most of them, so I might as well capitalize on that and rank all of them together with the new edition of Mandalorian and Grogu, starting off with Rise of Skywalker. Number 13. Oops, did I spoil last place? Wow, it's not like every single one of you watching this video would have been able to predict that this was going to be last. Honestly, though, I don't think it's as bad as people say. It's a 2.2 on Letterboxd and a 1.5 among people I follow, but I think it's just a 4 out of 10, not nearly one of the worst movies I've ever seen. So let's get all the positives out of the way. I honestly love 3PO in this. He's decently funny and surprisingly at his best. His heartfelt message to R2 is really great, especially considering that this is the last movie I watched for this ranking, besides for Mandalorian and Grogu, because that's brand new. So I really got to see how their relationship developed. There's some really cool visuals, mainly on Exegol. The Wayfinder is potentially interesting and like an ominous artifact. I think it's pretty cool. The voices in Rey's head are very fan servicey, but I like hearing all the original character voices. Plus, speaking of fan service, I'm not gonna lie, I really like when all the ships show up. That's like one of my favorite Star Wars scenes. I get chills every time, and I never get sick of it. Now for the bad. Yikes. I'm going to be honest, when I was writing my original review for this, I was going to give it a 5 out of 10, but then I lowered it because when I was writing it, I really realized how bad it was. They fly now, and I'm all the Jedi hurt so bad to hear. Those are the two worst lines in Star Wars history. It's pretty impressive that somehow Palpatine returned is only the third worst line in this movie. I don't know why, but I just really hate Rey's opening training scene too. For a random throwaway scene that really isn't talked about for being bad, it really sticks in my mind as being just a bad scene. I don't even know why. Also, speaking of bad scenes, what the fuck was Chewie's fake out death? There was not another fucking ship there. And if there was, how was everybody so stupid as to not see it? And don't get me started on that corny ass part where Rey destroys Kylo's TIE fighter. It's like the writers were like, hey, how can we show that Rey is a super awesome, empowering woman? Oh, I know, let's have her do a backflip. And if all of that seems like a lot of bad scenes, don't worry, there's only like 4 more. The rebels riding horses on the Star Destroyer is so bad it's funny. I was laughing. Rey magically transporting a lightsaber to Kylo is dumb as shit. I get it's a fictional movie, but you cannot do that with the Force. Why did Palpatine siphoning life force give him new clothes? Why do they try and act like Leia was a Jedi the whole time? This is one of the worst written movies of all time, if we're being honest. They try so hard to be funny, and zero jokes land except for some with 3PO, who's normally unfunny. Deciding to add like 30 new characters in a movie that closes a trilogy is a bafflingly terrible decision. People in this movie act like the Force was some mythological thing that was only around thousands of years ago, but the events of the original trilogy happened like 30 years before this. And of course, Rose still sucks, but at least she's in it less. And Hux being a twist spy is so dumb. Honestly, I think the worst part of this movie is how it forever ruined so many legacies. This trilogy was never that bad. Last Jedi is severely overhated, and Force Awakens is incredible, as you'll see later in this ranking. Daisy Ridley and John Boyega were never bad protagonists. J.J. Abrams has never been a bad creative. Everybody just thinks all of that because of this one movie. It's incredibly sad that my childhood Star Wars trilogy went out with a long, wet fart. Number 11. Wow, that was a long segment. Luckily, from here on out, I think every movie is at least pretty good. Most people don't really count the Clone Wars movie, but I figured I would since it's a theatrical release. I never watched any of the original Clone Wars show or much of any Star Wars animated show back then for that matter, and I know people hate on this movie, but I don't know, I thought it was solid. Not incredible, but I enjoyed it. The animation takes a little getting used to, but I didn't hate it by the end. I love Anakin, but he quips way too much, which makes a little sense because it's a cartoon, but it's still very unlike his character in the live action movies. I like Ventress. Ahsoka is annoying, but gets better by the end. There's a cool fight or two. Yeah, like I said, I don't really know. It's just pretty enjoyable. A decent, easy watch. Number 11. If you had asked me before this rewatch, I would have said Last Jedi is one of the worst movies I'd ever seen. Luckily, I don't think that way anymore, but this is still an insanely messy movie. For every good thing, there's another bad thing that comes with it. There's so much to say about this movie because it's just a bafflingly weird film to exist. J.J. Abrams and Disney wanted to make one Star Wars movie, starting off really well with Force Awakens, and Rian Johnson took that, changed every single thing, and it led to Rise of Skywalker being made. Honestly, I do think the negative reception on this trilogy as a whole can be attributed to Rian Johnson for completely changing the vision, which hurts to say because I really enjoy him as a creative, but it's true. I think I'll probably start with the bad, and the main thing that really drags down the whole movie is the casino planet. Holy shit, that ruins the entire movie by itself. Not only does it add absolutely nothing, it takes one of my favorite characters, Finn, and pairs him with my least favorite character in all of fiction. Yeah, that's right. Rose is my least favorite character in anything ever, and just takes them out of any importance in the movie whatsoever. But then later on, Finn tries to sacrifice himself, which would have been incredible, but fuck ass Rose has to save him. Can you imagine how good and emotionally impactful that would have been? It would have cemented Finn as one of the biggest heroes in all of Star Wars, but instead, Rose ruins everything, making it so the laser beam is still a huge threat, but also destroys both speeders. Then, instead of apologizing, she has the audacity to kiss Finn. Bro, he does not fuck with you. You just ruined everything, and both movies up to this point have been setting up for this romance with him and Rey, but the scriptwriters decided to have Rose kiss him. Worst scene in Star Wars history, bar none. And if that's not already bad enough, you get Rey and Kylo starting to get romantic tension. That is such an insane disrespect to Finn and Rey's characters that it's honestly disgusting. If anything, Kylo and Rey feel like siblings. Oh god, and don't get me started on the plot holes. Why the fuck can Kylo's hologram use the Force? How did Finn drag Rosa's body like a full mile in less than 5 minutes? What is the point of Snoke's entire character? What is the point of including the Knights of Ren and then never doing anything with them in this or the next movie? Also, what's the point of not bringing back Captain Phasma? I actually kind of like her in Force Awakens. Why don't they ever bring her back? That Leia scene where she just floats around in space is seriously laughably terrible. And I think my last huge gripe is the force sensitive child at the end. I remember when this movie came out, I went to school a couple days after seeing it, and I started speculating with all my friends about who that kid is or if there's any more force sensitive people that we don't know about. It was just so cool and so ominous, and they never did anything with that. Still makes me mad because before rewatching this, that was one of the most memorable scenes to me, honestly. Now for the good. I really like the opening scene. It builds Poe's character up more than the rest of this movie or the next do, and it's probably the strongest opening of the trilogy. There's some decent jokes on the planet where they find Luke. I like the Porgs, and Luke himself is still good in this. Laura Dern and Benicio del Toro are in this. Both their characters suck, but I like both of them as actors. Yoda appearing is cool. Adam Driver gives an insanely great and committed performance. The number one thing most people like The Last Jedi for is its attempt at doing something completely different. And I definitely appreciate the attempt, especially the attempt to do different stuff with Rey and Kylo's relationship, even if I don't like what they did. The visuals are incredible. Laura Dern doing the light speed jump to destroy the Star Destroyer is probably visually the best Star Wars has to offer. As well, the visuals on the Salt Planet being really cool, with the bits of red clashing with the rest of the planet's like complete whiteness being really cool. Overall, the cinematography in this is probably this movie's strongest aspect. Rey and Kylo both pulling at the lightsaber was a good scene, and so was Luke kissing Leia on the head before confronting Kylo, especially when you take into consideration that this was the last Star Wars movie Carrie Fisher was alive to be in, and the last Star Wars movie Luke would be in before dying. Ultimately, I respect and enjoy watching this movie more than I actually think it's good. I have it as a 7 out of 10 on Letterboxd, but writing the script and looking back, it would probably be like a 6 out of 10 because it's just so flawed. But there really is a lot to like. There's just unfortunately a lot to hate as well. I don't think I'll ever stop having things to say about this movie. It's just so confusing how it changed the entire dynamic of Star Wars as a whole, mostly for the worse. Number 10. From here on out, I consider every single movie to be really good and 8 out of 10 or above. Yeah, I know, shocking, right? I'm one of the only Star Wars fans that actually likes Star Wars. What a shocker. But listen, I know Phantom Menace has its problems, but it's still a really fun, good movie. It would probably place 5 spots higher if half the movie wasn't a pod race, because that's easily the biggest problem. I enjoy the pod racing enough, but it's just way too long. Also, Jar Jar is worse than I remember. He is so terrible. Besides those two, honestly, really bad aspects, the rest of the movie rocks. The lightsaber fight with Darth Maul is one of the best this franchise has to offer, and Liam Neeson gives one of my favorite Star Wars performances as Qui-Gon. The world building is great, and special effects are genuinely pretty good for 1999. Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. It's just a really good movie. Number 8. Pretty disappointed to report that Rogue One isn't as good as I remembered. It's still like an 8 out of 10 though because of two scenes, those being the Darth Vader hallway scene, which is so insanely good in every possible way and really proves they should make a rated R horror type Darth Vader movie. And the other scene is Rogue One, May the Force be with you. Killing off every single one of your main characters in an action blockbuster is super ballsy, and this movie does it really well. I think what prevents this from being a true masterpiece is the first half of the movie just being kind of boring and disposable overall. I barely remember anything that happens in that first half, even after seeing this movie at least probably 3 times by now. I love a lot of the characters, especially K2SO, the big guy with the guns and the blind guy, but for some reason his line where he goes, I am one with the Force is with me is one of those random quotes I say and think of all the time. The last thing I feel like this is the best movie in terms of is big, cool Star Wars action set pieces. We've got AT-ATs, TIE fighters, Star Destroyers, explosions, lightsabers, X-Wings, and just basically everything cool you could ask for in Star Wars. Number 7. I seriously do not get the hate on Attack of the Clones. It's just so much better than most franchise films today. For me personally, this one has some of the most iconic movie scenes I remember from my childhood, like the opening sequence, Anakin killing the Tusken Raiders, the droid factory, the arena battle, and of course Yoda versus Count Dooku, the lightsaber battle. People love to hate on this movie's script and Hayden Christensen's performance, but I think he gives a really great performance in both these movies. Plus, his line about slaughtering the Tusken Raiders was actually really good. There's actually a lot of surprisingly good lines of dialogue amongst the sea of shit. I think if George Lucas found anybody else to write literally every interaction between Padme and Anakin, people would love this movie like they do Revenge of the Sith. The score is still great. There's some beautiful scenery. Kit Fisto and Mace Windu are awesome. Jar Jar still sucks. It's the complete package of Star Wars movies. Number 7. Mandalorian and Grogu, the most recent movie, I'm proud to report I really liked. It just came out. I watched it today. I recorded all the voice lines before this segment, so the numbers might be a little messed up. But I mean, I had a great time with that. I thought it was a ton of fun with some good action scenes. For more full thoughts, I reviewed it. I have a review video out, probably posted yesterday, that you can go check out. But I mean, I feel like people just hate on anything nowadays. It wasn't perfect, but it was really, really fun. Number 6. If you ask me, the title for most underrated Star Wars movie easily goes to Solo. I'm really shocked to say that this is my third favorite Star Wars movie this century so far. Yes, it has virtually no reason to exist, and yes, it has some problems, but Ron Howard just brings so much sauce to the whole movie. I really don't like all the people hating on Alden Ehrenreich's performance. I think he portrays the cockiness and savvy personality of Han Solo really well. He just has like a few moments of subpar line delivery. I really like the opening sequence. I tend to enjoy when Star Wars shows the lives of regular people in their universe, and the chase scene that follows a little after isn't half bad. Childish Gambino was such a great casting for Lando, and I really like them playing cards together. Still kind of sad we haven't gotten a Lando movie yet because you can tell he really loves playing the character. But my favorite part of this entire movie, and one of my top 5 favorite scenes in any Star Wars project ever, is the storm chase. Holy shit, how visually incredible. You can absolutely see Ron Howard bringing his A game here. Also, the monster they face is really cool. I've always been fascinated by like the scarier creatures in Star Wars, and I'm always looking at the lore and appearances of like the giant terrifying creatures. So it's great to see one of those in this. I really like Woody Harrelson, plus Paul Bettany is a surprisingly good villain. But with all these positives, pretty much the only thing holding this back from being a top 5 Star Wars movie is L3. Holy mother of God, what an awfully obnoxious character. She is the worst Star Wars character, bar none. Still overall a really good movie, the best non-mainline Star Wars movie by far. Number 5. I mean, what do you want me to say about A New Hope? It's the start of the franchise, and you can absolutely see why it kicked off one of the biggest franchises of all time. When people hate on the prequels, for some reason they lump George Lucas in with the hate. Watching this movie and hearing that hate has me dumbfounded. He is a genius. I cannot fathom coming up with all this insanely deep and layered lore and nailing it on your first try. I could make a 30-minute analysis of how genius this movie is. Actually, wait, I might do that. That sounds like a really good idea. When Luke stares at the two suns and the movie swells, that is movie magic. Great stuff. So how the hell is this the worst movie of the original trilogy? Well, number 4. Return of the Jedi is often seen as the black sheep from the original trilogy. That is to say, people think it's just an enduring classic and not one of the greatest movies of all time. Yeah, something tells me this is a good trilogy. The opening scene in this is one of my favorite movie scenes ever, and it's honestly the first scene I think of when Star Wars is brought up. Luke solidifies himself as one of the greatest characters in fiction in this movie by becoming a true Jedi, and his battle with the Rancor is so cool. The special effects are so good. Darth Vader completes an A Train level character arc. Yeah, that's right. A Train is one of the most well written characters of all time. Deal with it. And the Darth Vader versus Luke versus Palpatine scene is sick. Also, I just love Ewoks. If you don't, then you need to get a heart. When that one Ewok finds his dead friend, I wanted to jump through the screen and hug him and then murder the stormtrooper that killed him. Also, did anybody else notice the traps the Ewoks set were built for Goraxes? I need them to show one in live action, please. Put it in, like, I don't know, Ahsoka Season 2 or something, I don't know. Also, this might be a cardinal sin or something, but I honestly love that they put Anakin's Force Ghost in the special edition. It's probably the best change they could have had. Kind of warmed my heart, to be honest. Well done, George Lucas. Number 3. This is the start of my 5-star, near perfect, all time favorite Star Wars movies. And it might be a shock to some of you, but I have Empire Strikes Back here. Maybe it might be critically the best, I don't think so, but my top 2 were set in stone before this rewatch. But this movie slaps so hard, way more than I remember. I'm just in awe of what they could accomplish back in 1980. Some of the camera shots and set pieces are better than 99% of movies today, and this came out almost 50 years ago. I love the somewhat realistic, gritty survival scenarios on Hoth, and the lengths they have to go to in order to save each other. The action is unreal. Luke's hero's journey is one of the best examples of that trope ever, and Obi-Wan's Force Ghost guiding him is just magical. He's a great presence without ever overshadowing Luke. Lando and Yoda are great additions to the already incredible cast of characters, even if Lando is a bit of a creep in this. Yoda is at his best, he just works so much better as a Jim Henson Company Muppet. I think to this day this is the best live-action Mark Hamill performance in any movie. And of course, this is still the greatest plot twist of all time in any type of media. Easily the best written and shot Star Wars movie. Isn't it funny that the highest rated Star Wars movie and Marvel movie have the villain winning? Number 2. Yeah, I'm sorry if you hate this ranking. Actually, I'm not at all. But I am physically incapable of saying anything negative about Force Awakens. I'd even go as far as to say it's in my top 20 favorite movies of all time. It's the first Star Wars movie I ever saw in theaters, and the first one I can wholeheartedly say I grew up with. This is my trilogy, and this is the only movie in that I can consider to be good every single time I watch it. I'm going to be completely honest, Finn is my favorite Star Wars hero ever. I also love BB-8, Finn, Rey, Poe, Kylo, even Hux and Phasma sometimes. Also, when this movie came out, I didn't know who Adam Driver was or what he looked like, so the mystery surrounding his face was really cool. I do kind of miss his awesome looking mask with the hood in the later movies too. I am of the opinion that the Tatooine knockoff Rey lives in this is kind of cheap, and she should have just lived on actual Tatooine. But the Star Destroyer ruins on like Jakku or whatever it's called are pretty cool. I like that it's not afraid to get dark at times, like the mass murder of civilians and the bloody hand streak on Finn's helmet. Also, yeah, I'll say it. This is my favorite Star Wars movie in terms of its score. Like, I mean, Star Wars is known for its score. It's super iconic. I just always remember this one more than the other ones for some reason. It honestly might be the funniest as well, and not to a fault like some other ones. Hux's speech is one of the best acted moments in Star Wars history from Donald Gleason, and the destruction of the planets that follow are sick as hell. Bro, the fight scene with Finn and the best stormtrooper in Star Wars history is so cool. The Finn lightsaber battle with Kylo is so cool. That's honestly my second favorite fight in Star Wars history. It just sucks they never made Finn a Jedi. Han gets such a crazy send-off, and I honestly love it. It might be one of the best written, most shocking character send-offs in Star Wars. J.J. Abrams honestly brings his A game while directing this one. The best touch they add in the Han death scene is how half of Kylo's face is blue and half is red, showing him split between the light and dark side, only to step into the red light consumed by the dark side, and then he kills his own father. What a scene, what a movie, what a way to start a trilogy, and it isn't even number 1. Number 1. Yeah, it's Revenge of the Sith. You knew it was going to be Revenge of the Sith. It's a damn shame this isn't even in the top 10 highest rated sci-fi movies of all time, because it's one of the best, and it should be. Anakin has the best evil character arc ever. Watching him go from just a happy little kid to literally the most evil person in the galaxy would be sad if it just wasn't so cool. Palpatine and Grievous are some of the coolest villains ever. Dooku is great and has an amazing death scene. The special effects are great for the time. All the creatures and ships look amazing. I mean, I swear I could just list off stuff to justify the first place ranking. Despite that, obviously no movie is perfect. This movie does have some really bad dialogue. I do think Hayden Christensen does a really great job switching his demeanor when talking to Padme, but much like Attack of the Clones, the writing in those scenes is awful. Also, the CGI is definitely overall good, but there's some bad moments of green screening. There's a weird lack of music in some fight scenes in the first half too. Like surely the fight with Grievous should have had some dramatic music and not just silence. I like when movies aren't afraid to kill off characters, but Kit Fisto died way too easily, and I think Mace Windu should have put up a little bit more of a fight. And yes, the writing is bad at times, but sometimes out of nowhere they just pull out a masterpiece of a line, like twice the pride, double the fall. And so this is how Liberty dies, with thunderous applause. No matter how many negatives there are, nothing can change the fact that from the moment Obi-Wan appears on Mustafar striking that goofy pose, a smile appears on my face and stays there for the next half hour during the single most epic fight scene in the history of cinema. And the incredible Execute Order 66 scene is great too. Much like Force Awakens, this is one of my favorite movies of all time, and my pick for the greatest Star Wars movie ever. So that's it for the Star Wars ranking. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Let me know your Star Wars ranking in the comments. I have a list on Letterboxd of my ranking of the movies, so go follow my Letterboxd. It should be in the description, and I'll update it every time a new Star Wars movie comes out. Probably the next one will be Star Wars Starfighter next year.